International Women's Day. Today is March 8th, and that's the day. So, for all of you ladies out there watching right now, today's your day. Well, actually, every day's your day and our day, right? So, cheers to that. Mm. I'm drinking this fabulous jasmine green tea today out of my fabulous mug that my friend Tracy made. I just can't stop showing this mug off. I just love it so much. Okay. Hi, Melly. Hello, everybody. Hey, at this point, I also really want to thank you all because I could already tell from the chat a few minutes ago that all of you join me every time that I do a live stream, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting me, for painting alongside with me. This is really what makes the community is you joining me and us painting together. Oh, hi, Tanya. So today, welcome to week 2 of Aloha 24 March. This month is all about native Hawaiian flowers. So let me just preface this session to tell you that this one is actually not a Ma'o hele, even though we're gonna paint a hibiscus that looks very similar to this one. So the thing is, in Hawaii, there are only a handful of hibiscus that are considered native, and all the others were brought in from other wonderful tropical regions in the world. So this one is a Chinese hibiscus, for example. But I'd say if you go to Hawaii and you see a pink hibiscus, for example, it's not a native Hawaiian hibiscus. However, the shape of hibiscus, they're very similar. I mean, there are some that look different. I don't know if you've ever seen those ones that hang down, like they look so cool. So the petals are like that, and then the inside kind of hangs out like a lantern. Super cool. I think they're called coral hibiscus, something. Yeah, but anyways, today we're gonna paint a Ma'o hele, and as our material combo this month is watercolors and shimmers, we're gonna add, can you see that? A few shimmers. And because one of my favorite techniques to adding shimmers is actually in a galaxy painting, I just thought, why not combine the flower with the galaxy? You can, of course, when we do this live painting today, just paint the flower. You don't have to paint the galaxy background if you just, want to paint the flower. It's totally fine. I'm gonna do the session in a way that you can just paint the flower and then decide if you want to add the galaxy or not. All right. So let me turn around the camera and I'll talk about the steps that we're going to take to paint this Ma'o hele today, and also about the supplies that I will be using. Okay, I also have my iPad set up with the chat, so in a minute I'm going to be able to see the chat. Okay, let me turn around the camera. You know the drill, it's going to be shaky shaky. Okay, so let me turn this around. Here. Ta-da! All right. Oh, and by the way, those gorgeous hibiscus, my husband James actually went out this morning to find those. It was so fun because I got up and I was like, oh, I should go and get some hibiscus. I was like, I'm a bit short on time. And then he came back and was like, did you check your desk? And I was like, yeah, well, of course, because I'm gonna do this live painting pretty soon. Yeah, there's some really beautiful hibiscus on your desk. And I was like, oh, thank you. I thought he was referring to my painting, but he found these guys here. Okay. All right, let me look over at the chat. Hello, hello. I just love recognizing everybody's names. That's so lovely. Thank you for joining. Hi Sylvie. Ganz herzliche Grüße an dich, ganz besonders heute. Du weißt warum. Alrighty. Okay, so my dears, why don't we talk about which steps we're going to take to finish our painting today. So I would like to start with the flower and the petals later, and then we'll add some details with shimmers. Then the flower will be complete. And after everything has dried, we're going to add the galaxy and those little shimmer stars, and we'll finish everything off with adding little white stars with a jelly roll pen. So in order to not need a very refined pencil sketch, I would like to practice painting those petals with you guys today. So you can see here that I already have like a little practice sheet here where I practiced a few of these petals with, you know, as few strokes with the brush as possible. And I think I did not mention this in the supply list, but I will actually be using a size 8 mop brush or aqua French brush. You can, of course, do this technique with a medium size or large size round brush as well. I just think that because this brush, the mop brush, holds a lot of water and has a very nice pointy tip, it's a bit easier with that one. But don't fret if you don't have it. You can just use another medium size or large round brush. And I'll also be using a smaller size. This is a size 3 round brush for the details. And of course, if you're painting on a small scale, you have a smaller paper, you can of course use a really tiny brush. This is just what I used for this size of a painting, which is not even sure how big that is, like half, 2/3 of a letter size, American letter size or A4 size. Okay, and I will continue to paint in my absolutely beloved handmade watercolor book that my friend Denise made from Switzerland, Art Moments. And as you can see, the scale will be a little different. So I will do a smaller version of my hibiscus here, which means that I would probably be absolutely fine using just a size 6 round brush. But as this is one of my favorite brushes, I'm just gonna do everything with this size 8 brush today. All right, I have very limited space on my desk today. I don't know, I just stuffed it full with flowers and books and everything. So let me just shift things around here a little bit. I'm gonna put this to the side for a second. Okay, so get some paper out that you have already practiced on. Maybe, you know, just some practice sheet of paper. It doesn't have to be high quality paper, just something that you have lying around, preferably watercolor paper. And of course, I mean, I have to say that if you use the same paper that you'll use later for the finished painting, it would make the most sense. But if you're using really expensive paper like this one here, which is Arche, then you know, you maybe want to just use some cheaper paper for practice. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Okay, let me talk about the paints. So these are all Aloha watercolors. I will be using 2 different kinds of yellows today. This is Kohola. It's another native Hawaiian flower, by the way. And this is a mix of different yellows that I made. And it contains a little bit of a neon yellow. That's why this yellow is so super bright. Then this is Papaya, which is a Indian yellow, has more of an orange tint to it. And I have sea grape, which is a Victoria green. That's kind of like a mix of a chromium oxide green with a few other mysterious ingredients. Jungle is a phtalo green. And Kohola, that's a synthetic indigo. I mean, you can use black if you like for the galaxy. I personally prefer to use very dark blues for my galaxies. These are the matte paints. And then I'll also be using 2 shimmer paints today. This is Green Flash and Kona Jazz. So Kona Jazz is kind of like a bronze gold shimmer. So for today's technique, you could of course use or try to use jelly roll pens, metallic jelly roll pens, or something else, some other kind of metallic paint that you have. But I do think with metallic shimmer watercolors, everything is easier for today's technique. However, if you don't have these particular colors, please feel free to use another color. You could use gold or silver. Instead of green, you could use a darker green or even a blue, yellow, whatever you have. And, you know, whatever you have that shimmers. Okay, and yeah, Sabrina just said that she loves Kona Jazz because it's a bit like rose gold. I think it actually is a rose gold, isn't it? Look at that. Yeah. However, oopsie. I have other paints that I designated like, you know, as a rose gold that even are a bit more rosy, I'd say. This one, I used Kona Jazz for my painting of the mamane flower as well. Yeah, I'd say, I don't know, I think it's a matter of perspective, right? I'd say it's more of a bronze. But it definitely also has a rosy touch to it. Yeah. Okay, so we talked brushes, we talked paints and paper. And hold on, I think this is it for today. Oh, white, my white jelly roll pen. This is a Sakura size 8. I really like these. These are part of the, I think, Moonlight Jelly Roll series, or maybe just a regular Sakura jelly roll pen. I also know that there are jelly roll pens by Mitsubishi Uniball. I think those are pretty good. They're a bit more beefy. Of course, you can also use white gouache, because the only thing we're gonna do with this is to add those little, see here, those little tiny stars at the end. So whatever you have at hand that's opaque and white, just use that. Let me get my sketchbook out of the, oh, no, oh yeah. You know, ladies, what's going on, right? Did you hear the little bark? I can hear Leo. Jamesy, can you let the dogs in, please?
Who let the dogs in?
Ooh, let the dogs in. Ooh, do, do, do. Okay, let me get this out of the way. And, uh-oh. Something just fell down. I'm not sure what it was. I'll find out later.
Go in and say hi to everybody on the internet.
Okay. Oh, and I also have a ceramic palette here for mixing colors. Okay, let me just check if everything's on screen. Hello, hi, ja, ach Gott, so eine Aufregung. Ja, hello, hi, ja. Oh, hi. Okay, I'm being attacked by little tiny dogs. I don't know why the little one, she always goes for my ear. She starts licking my ear. Does that mean I have to wash my ears? I mean, do your dogs do that too? Or is it just me? I feel kind of weird. She like heads straight to my ears. Okay, so Oh, wait, guys, I missed a comment from Sabrina. Oh, okay, she has Jelly Roll pens from Karen, the Polish company. Ooh, but you haven't tried those yet, have you? Yeah, I saw them on Instagram and they look really good. And I have to say, I love Karen brush pens. So yeah, I would definitely want to try the Jelly Roll pens. Okay, so I'm gonna show you with both a medium round brush and the mop brush how to do these petals. Okay, I have a lot of water jars today, actually 3. I like to use one water container just for my shimmer paints, and then the other 2 to rinse my brush first, and then I'll rinse it again. It's a lot of rinsing going on here. Okay, with my round brush, I'm gonna pick up some of my yellow paint. Oh, and I forgot to mention that, but hey, you can use any color you have at hand, any brand. I'm just telling you the names of the Aloha watercolors in case you want to use those. But as always with my live streams and my challenge, you can use whatever paint you have at hand. Okay, let's make a nice little puddle here. This should be pretty watery. So just grab some of your yellow paint and some water and make a bunch for this practice round. So all we're gonna do is this move here. Might want to go a little closer so you can see better. Okay, so picking up some paint. And then it's really just a quick stroke like this. So when you look at the hibiscus petal, you can see that it's kind of, you know, it doesn't have a very sharp defined edge on this side. It's kind of crinkly. So you don't want to go in and straighten out these edges. You want them to be a bit rough. And if you have kind of like this happening where the paint, you know, doesn't fully cover the paper, I actually think this is a great effect. And it almost imitates those crinkly textures that the hibiscus leaf has. See, like lots of texture in these petals. Then you can already start practicing painting the whole flower. So you just, that's it. You just go around, turn your paper, and paint 5 petals. Don't make a straight line. You want to have a curved line here. Hold on, this is maybe a bit too close. All right. So just a tiny little wave, see, like this. And that's pretty much all there is to it. This was with a medium-sized round brush. And now we can do the same thing with a mop brush. Okay, I'm just looking over at the chat. We have a question from, not sure how to pronounce that. Starts with floral. What's your favorite brand of watercolor paints? So for me personally, I am a watercolor paint maker. So I make my own watercolors, Aloha watercolors, and well, that's my favorite brand. So But if you're talking about watercolor brands that are not handmade, I mean, I actually hardly use those anymore. I'd say my favorite ones are Sennelier, the French brand, and I also love the Japanese Kudetake, and I do have a few Daniel Smith as well. Then for traveling, I love the Sakura Koi, the travel size. You know, these palettes, those are really cool. I mean, the quality maybe isn't that great, I'd say, compared to Daniel Smith or Sennelier, but they're just super convenient and the colors are pretty vibrant and they have neon and metallics too. So yeah, what about you guys? I mean, naturally you're all using Aloha watercolors, I know. But if you're not, what do you like? Do you use, what else? Winsor Newton or Schminke? There's so many out there. There's so many good ones too. Van Gogh. Okay, I'm running out of space here. But basically, with a mop brush, you do the same thing. See, just like this. Just one stroke with a slight curve. And that's all there is to it. Okay, as a tip, try to keep your wrist kind of loose, you know, don't have the death grip. Like for this kind of technique, it's really good to maybe even start your session with just moving your wrist a little bit, moving your fingers. Try to hold your brush kind of loosely and just do a few of these strokes. All right. I'm rinsing my brush and let's move on to the sketchbook and the final painting. Okay, gonna get this out of the way. Bye, Sylvie. Ja, klar, verstehe ich. Alles Gute. Okay, and all right, what's going on in the chat? Ooh, a lot is going on. So Melly likes Schminke, Daniel Smith, and Rockwell watercolors. Ooh, what's Rockwell? Is that handmade watercolors? I don't think I've heard of them. And Floral says Schminke. Yeah, I mean, those are great. I especially love the Schminke granulated colors, the granulating paints. Those are so great. You know, I did not want you to have to say that your favorites are Aloha watercolors. I feel kind of like, you know, I mean, what else would you say, right? So, you guys are absolutely welcome to love any watercolors that you have, seriously. Okay, Melly just said that Rockwell is a Chinese-Canadian brand. Ooh, really? Chinese-Canadian? How cool. Super granulating colors. Ooh, that sounds interesting. How come they're Chinese-Canadian? What an interesting combination. I gotta look into that. Okay, let's go back to our painting. So I did provide you with a sketch in my newsletter. However, I would like to try for us to be kind of loose today with this painting. So not a lot of pencil sketch in advance. However, you know, I always say that if you feel better doing a sketch and then just letting loose and adding color, please do so. I don't want to force you to try to be loose about this painting today, but let's try to just make a few pointers for us here. So I'm literally only adding a few kind of like pencil marks, pencil points to where I want my main flower to be. So I'm placing these where I want the, you know, kind of like the tips of my petals to be. And then I have this flower bud here and then two down here. As for designing this one, I always like to have an uneven number show up somewhere. So in this case, it's 3 buds. And I think that composition works because I also try to do everything in this oval shape, circular oval shape. If you just did this one flower in the center, I think it would feel a bit lonely and the whole focus would be on this. And even though the focus is still on this one because it's the largest, brightest part of the painting, you also have these 3 that kind of, you know, grab your attention as well, secondary attention, and then you can just move around the painting like this, looking at all the details. Okay, so we have our 5 points for the hibiscus main flower and then 3 little points for the buds. And then I'm just really gonna add in the leaves just by eyeballing it. Okay, let's mix some more yellow, just like in the practice run. Okay, let me zoom out just a tiny bit. You can always tell me, by the way, if you want me to zoom in or zoom out. Just quickly rearranging everything on my table. Okay, so let's grab some of the yellow paint. This is Kohola. Add some water. And just like in our practice run, we want this to be fairly liquid and fairly thin. All right, so no fear, just do exactly what we did in the practice run. Boom. So because this is such a large brush, I actually don't even need 2 strokes for these. I can do probably most petals with just 1 stroke, or maybe add another one here. I will turn my paper now because it really is easier when you paint flowers. Not just because it's easier on, you know, your hand movement, but also because you can do the exact same movement and create a bit more of a uniform shape to your petals. So it's, you know, it's just gonna be the same kind of flow. Hold on, let me just look at this. Yeah, for the last one, we're actually gonna go in the other direction. See, like this. Okay. This is our hibiscus blob. So again, you just do the same movement. You turn your paper and just go around. And as you can see, because we're looking at the flower a little bit from the side, I didn't fill out the whole circle shape. So we're not painting the flower frontal, like front on, we're painting it like this. Actually, yeah, this angle is perfect, I think. So you can see here that we have a little bit of space, and that's where we're gonna put the, can't remember the name of this part, this one here, and the stamen. Okay, help me out, guys. I know that you know the name of this part of the flower. The stamp? Trunk? Okay. Oh, danke, Rosie. Stamen, yeah. I thought so. Well, so Linda says stamen. I thought that this part of the flower is called the stamen or stamen. But this elongated, I don't know, all I can think of is elephant right now, elephant trunk. Okay, and next, I'm gonna paint the buds, which is just, for me, it's just one stroke with my brush. So you set down the tip of your brush and then the full belly of the brush like this, and then just lift up again. And one more down here. Let's drop in a little bit more paint so it's not so light. Okay. Switching to my smaller brush, that's the round 6 brush. And I'll pick up some of my darker yellow paint. This is the Indian yellow or papaya. And while the first layer is still wet, I'm gonna drop in some paint in the center and a little bit around the edges here. Now, when you looked at the step-by-step tutorial today, I did it a little bit differently. In the step-by-step tutorial, I let the first yellow layer dry, and then I added the darker yellow. However, I think it's easier for really nice and smooth blends to drop in the second color when it's, you know, when the first layer is still wet. I think it also depends a little bit on the look that you're going for. If you want more refined shadows, so to speak, you can wait till the first layer is dry and then drop in the second color. Here over at the buds, just here at the bottom. Let's reshape this one. This doesn't look much like a bud. Okay, this is better. All right. Okay, I can see in the chat that you guys consulted Google, and it is a pistil. Huh. Okay, so not only are we painting today, we are learning about flower ingredients, so to speak. So this is the pistil, and this part here is the stamen, where the dust, where the pollen are. Pistil and stamen. You know, pistil almost sounds like the gun. Very confusing. Confusing. Okay, you guys, so before I can do the next step, this layer actually needs to be dried, and because I did this wet, I have this wet mess here, I do need to use my hair dryer. So I'll be right back. Thank you for the hibiscus.
You bet, my love.
And I'm back. This took a little while because it was really wet. But you can see how nice those two yellows blended into each other. Again, if you want a more defined shadow here, then let me show you how you would do that. It's just pretty much using the darker yellow, diluting it a little bit with water, and just carefully going around where you want some more definition of your petal. Make sure you don't have too much pigment on your brush. You really want this to be just a subtle definition of the petals. So just use lots of water and just a little bit of this darker yellow pigment. You just go around. So if you're painting after a reference photo, I always suggest that you can turn the photo into a black and white photo with, usually there's some app on your phone or even the Photos app on your phone that can do that. And up the contrast. And this will let you see exactly where the light and where the shadow parts are. You know, I personally think, especially when you have a light colored flower like this with very similar colors, sometimes it's hard to see exactly where the shadows are and where the light parts are. You get more practice with that. You know, the more you look at real life objects, the more or the better you can tell where those differences are in light and shadow. Like here, for example, you know, it's really obvious that we have the shadow part here and in the center. But yeah, most of us don't have access to all the flowers all the time. So if you're painting after a reference photo, try the black and white and upping the contrast trick and see how that works for you. I'm dipping my brush in water and drying it off, and then I'm just gonna go back in here and blend in the darker yellow with the lighter yellow. Okay, over in the chat, Melly is saying that she studied biology and botany for 5 years. Ooh, you have a diploma in molecular evolutionary biology. Wow, that sounds like I would not be able to remember this in 2 minutes. Molecular evolutionary biology. Did you study flowers and stuff of Hawaii as well? Because all I hear all the time is that, you know, the Hawaiian flora and fauna is so unique because it developed independently for such a long time. Okay. Next step, we're gonna add the pistil. Haha. It's very good that I know that word now. Okay, I'm sorry this is off camera. I'm just mixing my dark yellow here on my palette. Now we're just gonna dot, dot, dot our way. Make sure that this is gonna be a curved piston. You don't want it to be too straight, even though in our example here it is pretty straight. But I think for design purposes, it'll just look a bit better if there's a slight curve to it. And just dot, 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 dot your way here over to the tip, and then we'll add 3 little strokes here in the end, and just 3 little circles like that. With an even more diluted version of this dark yellow, let's go back in, and now we're gonna emphasize the lines of the petals. So they all start in the center and then they go out towards the edges of the petals. Always make sure that you follow the curve of what you already painted. So in this case, you want to just follow the shape of this petal here. I'm holding the brush like this and very loosely. This might not seem logical to you at first because maybe you want to hold on to it so you can have really good control over your line. But if you want to have kind of like this loose feeling to your flower, I really encourage you to practice making very, very loose strokes, using your whole hand, moving your whole hand like this. Just barely touch the paper. This is also a really good thing to practice beforehand. So for example, you could practice these very light, fine strokes on the practice petals that you painted in the first part of the session. See, like this. Then we'll do the same for the flower buds down here. But in this case, we're gonna try and emphasize this oval shape. So we start at the tip and then add the stripes like this. Okay, I missed a few things in the chat. Let me have a look. Ah, yes, okay. So Melly, our molecular evolutionary biologist, says that the Galapagos Islands are, of course, the thing to study. Yes, I agree. With a kiss from Charles Darwin and David Attenborough. I love watching pretty much anything and everything that Mr. Attenborough does. Gosh, he's so cool. Did you guys know that he's really old? I think he's like 90, right? He still travels the world, and like you can see him put on these boots and then stand in a swamp somewhere, and it's just, he is so cool. Okay, next step. Yeah, I think everything's still dry. Well, we could do the shimmer details now or the leaves. I think I actually want to do the leaves first because we're still in the non-shimmer part of the painting. Let me zoom out a little bit again. Okay, for the leaves, I'm grabbing sea grape, which is the Victoria green. If you don't have Victoria green, you can use any kind of chromium oxide green, or honestly, just use any green you have. I like this one because it's, you know, it granulates quite a bit. And you know, I love my granulating paints. Okay, so Alina says that Sir David Attenborough is 97. You're kidding. 97? Are you sure? Holy moly. I mean, being 90 and traveling around the world and, you know, doing what he does, all these nature documentaries and filming, and it's amazing. But 97? How is that even possible? Oh my goodness. Wow, what a life. I've seen you know, the stuff he did back in the 60s and 70s. I just feel he always looked the same. Kind of, that's kind of funny. You could always tell that it's him even when he was younger. Again, you know, if you don't want to do this freehand and free flowing like I'm doing today, just please feel free to do a little pencil sketch first. The most important thing for you is to, really enjoy this painting session and have fun. So don't force yourself to go all free flowing if you don't want to. Or maybe, you want to tomorrow, but not today. So you can just do whatever feels most comfortable for you today. The way that I'm painting the leaves might surprise you. And hold on, why is it not sharp? That's weird. All right, here we go. Because a lot of hibiscus do not have these three-pronged leaves. They have kind of like, the leaf looks, like this. However, the Ma'o hele really has these interesting leaves that almost remind me of grape leaves. And a really easy way for you to paint those is you can start with the middle part of the leaf like this. So just a regular leaf shape, and then fill it out. And then just add little spikes here on the side. Do you see that? And another one. This is also, by the way, a really good way to paint grape leaves. Then for the next part, hold on, I need a little bit more paint here. Again, just do a regular leaf shape first. And then just add a little spike here and on the other side. Voila. You can use 2 different size brushes here if you like. If you're using a fairly large brush and you don't want to deal with, these little tiny details here, with that large brush, you can just switch to a very small brush and then fill out the edges here later. I'm always really lazy. I hardly ever change my brush, honestly. I think the most I change my brush is for our live painting sessions together, because I feel bad not, painting everything with the same brush. So I always preach that you should, switch your brush to something else. And then I just paint the whole session with my big ass size 8 mop brush. All right, so I switched to my size 3 round brush. How about that? Yay! Picking up some green paint, and then we're gonna go in and do a few quick strokes here for the buds. So you can see every bud has like this bigger part of the green, and then these cute little teensy tiny green parts. I'm kind of ignoring the bigger parts. I'm only adding the cute teensy tiny mini leaves here. Just a few quick strokes. Okay, I'm gonna grab some of my phthalo green jungle. And you don't have to use your palette for this one. You can just go straight from your pan, and while the other green is still wet, just drop in a few dots of phthalo green here at the bottom of each of the flower buds. And why not add some here as well? Oops, this is already dry, as you can see. So your first layer should still be wet for this to work perfectly. If it's not, you can just rinse your brush and go back in with some water. Just push your pigment around a little bit. So funny, I can see in the chat that you guys mentioned the birds and how nice they sound today. And now I'm listening to them and I realize that I didn't hear them before because I'm so used to this wonderful sound. But when you take the time and just be quiet for yourself and enjoy the sounds of nature, it's really amazing. So all I'm doing now is with a rinsed and clean brush going back in and just pushing those two greens around so that they blend better. The reason why I dropped in the darker green here is that the leaves are behind the flower and therefore the flower would cast a little bit of a shadow onto those leaves. So it creates a bit more of a dimensional 3D effect, or it looks less flat, I should say. All right. So I want to also add some stems to my buds here. I forgot that part. So just like this. Okay. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. And Sabrina says she's looking forward to hearing the birds live. Yeah, you are planning to come visit Hawaii, aren't you? That's a really big trip. So Sabrina lives in Switzerland, so it's gonna be like a, I don't know, 30-hour trip with all the layovers and stopovers and everything. I know, because been there, done that. You practically lose a whole day sitting on the plane, or like 3 different planes normally. Okay, so how about you guys? Do you enjoy traveling? Do you enjoy traveling abroad, or do you prefer staying at home and getting to know the area where you live in better? Do you have any plans for this year on traveling? All right, let me just grab a sip of tea here. Oh no, it's cold. Oh, it's still yummy. Okay, Debbie says it's so worth it. You mean traveling to Hawaii? Yeah, I agree. I never left. Ooh, Debbie's going to Maui in April. That's really soon. Wonderful. That's next month. Man, I haven't been to Maui in 6 years, I think. Time to go again. Okay, my lovely ladies, next step, we're gonna add some shimmer details. So my flower is still, my petals are still, not petals, my leaves are still wet, so I'm not gonna touch these, but the flower part is dry. So I'm grabbing a bit of my Kona Jazz bronze / rose gold shimmer. And the reason why I'm using the palette again and adding some water is because I want to create a center here that's not too defined. So that's why I'm adding a lot of water. I'm rinsing my brush and adding even more water right on the page. And you want to kind of move your shimmer paint around like this. If you don't have shimmer watercolor, you can use a jelly roll pen and just make a lot of tiny, teensy dots with your jelly roll pen. And I think you might end up having a similar effect. And then wherever you painted a line previously with your dark yellow paint, gonna go over that one more time and adding a very fine thin line of shimmer paint. Now for this part, you can really use a jelly roll pen, a shimmery one. That would probably make things a bit easier. However, I have to say, when you use a brush for this part, you know, your line won't be exactly the same width in all the spots. So you have a thinner and thicker line and it just looks more organic, I think. That's the beauty of adding shimmer with a brush. You can vary the size and thickness of every brush stroke and line and make it more organic looking. And now I'm just dotting my way across the pistil. See, I'm using my new word here. Yaha. Okay, if it's not enough shimmer, just add some more here in the center. Dot. Here we go. Then we do the same thing here over on our buds. Can you hear the dogs in the background? They're just racing around in my living room. So Malio, the puppy, she's about 10 months old now, and oh my gosh, the energy. The other dog, Leo, he's 3 years old almost now, 2.5 years I'd say, and he started to calm down a lot, and then the puppy showed up, right? So he's back to being a puppy himself. It's hilarious. And it's also really cute to watch. Her energy is so infectious. For me too. I mean, not that I'm running around much these days, but just in spirit, you know? It's like the joy in the little things. She loves stealing little papers from me and then taking them somewhere and chewing on them. And even though, you know, it's like annoying, but it's also kind of cute. I don't know, just such lovely energy. She's very adorable. All right, you guys. So let's look over in the chat. Okay, yes, Sylvie, we're sending all our aloha to your papa. Lots of love, lots of good thoughts. Yeah, her dad's really sick, so all the best thoughts for Papa Sylvie. And, oh, I'm sorry, you guys, I have to go to the door and let Leo out. Coming back. Apologies. My neighbor just came back home, as you can hear. So these dogs actually belong to my neighbor, but they also spend at least half the day of every day here over on our side. I really believe that they think they just own the whole place here, the whole driveway with all 3 houses. You're not disturbing the live stream, Sylvie. How can you say that? No. That's what I, kind of wanted to point out earlier, that I really feel that we're this tightly knit group at this point, and it's always the same people showing up. I know that a lot of you also chat privately, so it's not like, we're fine, and not everything is great all the time in our lives. People get sick, and my family had to go through that too. It's just a part of life. And even though my live streams are usually fun and easy and, good vibes and all that, I think it's also totally fine to talk about the things in life that aren't just great right now. And you can always, come and just try and let go of the negative stuff when you start painting. So one of my biggest dreams would be for all of you and all of us to just be able to let go by doing art, or when we're doing art. I think that's also the reason why I always emphasize that you should do what feels good to you. Not because I'm showing you the way, how to do it. If that doesn't work for you, just do it in a different way, really. It's the most important thing that you enjoy this process, and that this is the part of the day where you can just sit down and just, let go. Let the paint flow, and don't overthink. Don't think about the negative things. Just paint and breathe and all that good stuff. Okay, so I added some green shimmer, green flash to the leaves. And at this point, honestly, if you have come this far, you can actually call it a day and say, okay, I love my hibiscus, this is it. This is all I want to do. But now I will add my galaxy. So join me for the next step if you like, and if you're not, if you're done right now, then that's totally fine too. I will have to do another round with my hairdryer though, because the leaves are still wet, and I want to have some control on where I put my galaxy and where I want the colors to blend, or not to blend. Be right back. Here we go. Ooh, I like the shimmer. I haven't painted with shimmer in a while, and I just love that effect. It is kind of cool, isn't it? Okay, so in my case, because I'm using a sketchbook with a double page spread here, I want to kind of look at what I did over here with my mamane flowers. So over on this painting, or in this painting, I put the emphasis of the galaxy here in this corner. So just for balance, for my hibiscus over here, I would like to make the galaxy really dark in this corner, and then maybe lighten it a little bit on this side. If you're just using your standalone piece of paper, you can, of course, just go ahead and do what I did here, which was, kind of go around the shape of the hibiscus that you painted. But I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. I always try and bring somewhat of a new element into my live stream, so it's not one, like one-to-one. Like the step-by-step tutorial. So today that would be that we blended both yellows wet on wet instead of in the step-by-step tutorial where I let every layer dry completely before I added the next one. I have my size 8 aqua French or mop brush again, and all I'm doing now is laying down water. So this is just water. And because this is a fairly large brush, I'm not going all the way, or like I'm getting close to my leaves and petals, but not really, or I'm trying to not touch them. So I'm leaving a little bit of a white space. And then later on with a tiny brush, I can go and do a really nice detailed work, fine work to fill out the spaces here. If you feel like, you know, a little bit being experimental today, you can of course just go in and be more free-flowing and not really care about if your colors overlap. I think it really depends on the kind of style that you like to paint in and then you like your paintings to look. So I think usually when I just paint for myself, I'm very, very loose, very free. So I would normally just not even, you know, care about if I painted over my bud here a little bit. But I kind of feel like when I do these lives, I want to demonstrate a way how you can do it more detailed, because I think that's more difficult than to, you know, just slop the paint on. Okay, so I added water, I dropped in my indigo paint, and now with a smaller brush, I'm going back in and doing the fine detailed work here. So I personally think you could even leave that white edge here, you know, because this is going to be a galaxy, it might actually lead to the flower having this almost like a glow around it. So let's try this out here with this bud. If you know, you can probably see this, that there is a little white space in between the background and the flower bud. I think it already looks like it's glowing a little bit. Yeah, I kind of like that effect. Picking up some more indigo straight out of my pan and just dropping it in here, because watercolor dries lighter and I want this corner to be really dark. Not just because I have another dark corner here on this side, but also because when the background is really dark like this, the stars are just gonna pop more. The contrast will be better. Bye bye, Ulrike. Gute Nacht. Good night. Okay. Oh, by the way, just something I did in another painting of this flower. I just wanted to show you real quick. There's an alternative to how to do this background. So see here, I actually mixed my indigo with my green shimmer paint, and that's how I painted the background. If you like this look, you can mix your indigo with the shimmer paint and paint the background like that. If you want more of a clean background look, then just use your matte indigo. Okay, just a little tip on the side. By the way, the reason I'm using 3 different water containers is also that I can rinse my brush that I used with my shimmers and, you know, not recontaminate my matte paints. So it kind of depends on how much you care about that aspect. If you don't mind your matte paints getting a bit shimmery, then, you know, you can just use 1 water container and the same brush and everything. But the more often you paint with shimmer paints, the more likely it is that you'll end up with your matte paint also, you know, developing some shimmer. So what I'm doing down here is I just lay down a layer of water and then I dragged my indigo from up here down. Okay, let's switch to the smaller brush to fill out these white spaces here. Okay, let's look at the balance of this. So very dark here. We already started with a little bit of a gradient down here. And I think we want some on this side as well, to balance out our composition. And I think we actually need a bit more dark here as well. So I'm just switching between adding water to my page and then adding some indigo paint. Just let this drop in. Ooh, I like that. Let's do a bit more indigo here. So these, if it's dark like here, then these two parts are connected even better. And then we have this nice fade into something a bit more light. If you use cotton paper, you will see some really beautiful blends going on like this. And if you don't have indigo and you're using, I don't know, like a granulating dark color, then that would be a really nice effect too for the background. So I don't want this to be completely white, which means I'm going to go back in with some water and drag my indigo paint down like this. Okay. Ooh, isn't this lovely? Gosh, I love these striations that the indigo does right now, mixing with the water underneath. Okay. All right, ladies, what you say? Should I leave it like this or should I add a bit more indigo? Do you think it's balanced enough when you look at this double page? Okay, tell me what you think. Thumbs up? Okay like this? Okay, I hear no protests. So I'm just gonna take it as a yes. Debbie says maybe very light. You mean maybe a little more dark on this side? Let's try that. So what I'm doing off camera is I'm just diluting my indigo paint on my palette a little bit so it's lighter. Just adding it here. These two colors, the indigo and the yellow, are such a great contrast. Really makes the flower pop. I'm rinsing my brush again. I'm drying it on my towel. And just, oh, actually, I don't think I have to do anything. Look how nice it blends here. With watercolors, especially when you do loose backgrounds, abstract backgrounds like that, it's often a good idea to just let it, let the magic do its own thing, to not push the paint around too much. All right. Ooh, yeah, I'm liking it. Okay, thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Debbie. So I hope that your painting is going well as well. And hope you're enjoying it. Let's add some shimmer to our background. Okay, my paint is still, or my page is still very wet. So depending on which paper you use and how quickly you paint, you might have different effects when you do the next step, which is to grab some of your shimmer watercolor and just set it down onto the still wet background. Of course, it's gonna, spread out quite a bit. And in those parts where your paper is already dry, you're gonna have more of a defined edge to it. So the effect I'm trying to create here is pretty much the glow of the stars. So these are not per se the stars themselves. For that, we're going to add the white Jelly Roll pen later. This is kind of more like the glow around the star. Naturally, this will work best in the areas that are darkest, just because of the contrast. So I'm going to add most of my glow here in the darkest spots, and then towards the bottom, just a few random ones like this. I'm rinsing my brush in my shimmer water container, and then switching over to the green shimmer. And again, if you don't have bronze and green, don't worry. You can use gold or silver for this part, and it'll look great. Or even yellow, then it'll pick up the color of your flower. Almost could be little fireworks too, huh? Because they're so colorful. I mean, my painting dots, shimmer dots, are so colorful. We have a fireworks galaxy. For an even more, glowy effect, you can rinse your brush, dab it on your paper towel, and then just go in and spread the shimmer paint and blend it into your still wet background like that. Okay. So over in the chat, Millie is saying that she's just playing today. Playing with colors. Yes, wonderful. That's it. Because over in Germany, where she is, it's already really late, like 9:30 p.m. That's when you just want to sit down and play with color. I actually love painting at night or, late in the evening. I mean, the only reason I'm doing my lives is that time-wise, it's the best time for all of you, I think, I hope, because of the vast time differences between the time zones here and on the continent and Europe. I feel like this is the best time. But for me personally, I love painting at night or in the evening. So how about you? What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite time of day where you paint? Or is it like whenever you can make time is the best time? I think just, I was just looking at this before I go and use my hair dryer again. I do want this part of the flower to not stand out that much, which means I'm gonna go back in with my tiny brush and add a little more background here in those white spots. It kind of looked a bit too unfinished for my taste, leaving that much white space around the pistil. Okay, that's good. I like this. Okay, Sylvie says evening for painting. Alina can't paint at night. So you're just watching the stream? That's fine. That's totally fine. Thank you. Tanya likes painting and lettering in the morning. And Sabrina says her best time to paint is when she's not tired. Yeah, as a mom of 2 kids, I can see where that's coming from. It's like, I have time, I'm not tired. Okay, time to paint. All right, so we're almost finished. All I'm gonna do now is add the white dots with the jelly roll pen, but for that, I want this to be dry. So one last time for today, I'm gonna go and dry my page. I'll be right back. Okay, that should be good enough. And with my white jelly roll pen, let's just add some stars in between. And you can also try and set a star in the center of your little shimmer explosions here. It might not really show up that well though. If you have white gouache, it might actually work better. Better in the sense of it's going to show up more when you put the white dots inside your shimmer here. And try to make your stars larger and smaller, so you can just, do little dots like this in little clusters. For stars, it's always a good idea to not make it too uniform. You don't want your perfect polka dot pattern here. You kind of want to create little pockets and clusters where you have more stars. And then other than that, spread them out unevenly. Of course, you can also add something like this, some twinklies. By the way, one of my guest hosts has at least 4 or 5 different ways how to create stars with different tools and different media, from pastels to watercolors and gouache and everything. And it's on my it's here on my channel. I think it's called Oh My Stars. Oh My Stars. Super helpful video if you're into galaxy painting, or if you got into it today. Check out that video, it's super helpful. Okay, let me just zoom in one more time for this last part. Okay, so here, and then just with a few flicks very quickly add those little twinklies. All right, I always try to not overdo it. It's really easy to just go overboard with these stars, and then it kind of looks a bit too unnatural or overdone. So sometimes just adding a few stars really is enough. Ooh, Sylvie just said that they have a large red hibiscus. Wow, yeah, that's unusual for Germany. I mean, it just is so cold. But of course, you know, inside it's possible to keep tropical plants, unless of course your heating dies, then that's a problem. Okay. Oh, thank you, Tanya. Yeah, I have to say the painting of Galaxy is probably what got me into or back into watercolors. In the beginning, I started with lettering, and then I slowly picked up, you know, painting again. And I did start with painting a lot of watercolor galaxies. I think that's all I did for weeks and weeks. And it really, yeah, it kind of stuck with me, I guess. This first loving of watercolors and combining it with galaxy paintings. Okay, I think we are done with today's session. Let's put these side by side. Yeah, it looks quite different, doesn't it? So for my sketchbook, I really prefer today's version that we did together. But I think as a standalone piece, I really like this one as well. You know, this could be a sticker. Actually, I did make stickers from my first painting. So yeah, I think, you know, this works really well as a sticker because it's a more defined shape. All right, let me turn the camera around so I can properly say goodbye and good night. Ari, are you still there? I pushed a button that I was not supposed to push. Okay, well, I'm just gonna hold it. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful International Women's Day. Yay! Next week, we're going to do another Hawaiian flower. And, oh, okay, let me see if I can do that. Oof. Okay, so next week's flower is not very well known. It's an endemic Hawaiian flower. It's called Na'u or Nanu. It's the white one in the corner there. It's a type of a gardenia. Smells wonderful. It's very rare though, unfortunately. Anyways, I'm gonna paint this. I'm gonna do another live stream. I'm not sure yet because we have family visiting, but I'll let you know. And as always, you know, if you have my newsletter, you'll find out, and over on Instagram, of course, as well. All right. I hope you enjoyed today's session. And as always, I would be very thankful if you could just give me a thumbs up here in the video, or even leave a comment, you know, just something really small, just an emoji or something that really helps me and my channel. All right. Aloha and mahalo, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay.